All right, guys, what's going on? It's Jack, and welcome back to another video. And yes, the title does not deceive. I actually did talk to a Splitgate Pro for 3 hours. It was on stream a couple of streams ago, and Zach Smacks was very, very generous with his time. He also demonstrated and broke down a few things in terms of what needs changing and all that kind of stuff. And it's clearly driven by passion. And I think that's a lot of, you can say whatever you want about the Splitgate community in terms of how small it is and all that kind of stuff. But one thing that is for damn sure, and especially when you look at the developer side as well, from everything I've been told as well, is that there's definitely a lot of passion here. And that's something that I have in common, even though I'm a newer member of the community, so to speak. I mean, hell, I don't even fully consider myself a member of the Splitgate community because, quite frankly, I feel like I haven't earned my stripes. Now, at the end of the stream, at the end of the conversation, I asked him, I said, you've been so generous with your time, with your, answering questions, my questions, the chat's questions, and all that kind of stuff. I basically asked him, I said, what can I do for you? What is it that I could do, other than a shout out, other than leaving, the links to everything in the description, and all that kind of stuff, which will be included in this video as well. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what can I do, for you? And, he didn't want anything. If anything, he requested that I start using portals. And in this very recent stream before recording this video, guess what? I was using portals like the more than I've ever used them before. Now, obviously, I'm still getting used to it. It's not something that's going to happen overnight. However, the wheels have finally started turning. I know some of you guys in the comment section were really excited to since the last video, in terms of when I played against this guy and how well he did and all that kind of stuff, like how it kind of woke me up, so to speak, and just kind of forced me to learn it and all that kind of stuff. But what I also wanted to talk about very briefly in this particular video, in sort of a highlight form, is that over the course of the next handful or so videos, I'm going to be breaking down all the details that were discussed from him. And there's a lot of editing that I have to do, and you guys are probably going to hear his voice as well, because I've got the VOD from the stream as well, which you guys are going to be able to hear. Plus he also was on stream himself when we were having this conversation, right? We joined up in game chat and we had a conversation. It was a huge conversation and it went on for a very long time. So, and the thing is, like, a lot of people, especially the casual community, are going to automatically assume that the pros don't care about the casual community, or the pros, just want portals to be infinitely strong. And I am here to tell you firsthand. And as a matter of fact, he will tell you, you're actually going to hear it from the horse's mouth himself over the course of the next few videos that are going to be coming out hopefully soon, because it's going to be a while to dissect everything and to put it in form with editing. But that is actually not the case at all. He very much cares about the casual community, very much so. Not just because of the popularity of the game, but also because ultimately we all were casuals. Like, if we ended up turning into a pro player, we all were. And he understands, like he even said himself, and I'm going to quote him here, that in matchmaking, nobody should be matching up with him. The top of the top 1% player. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. No casual that's barely plays, that only has a couple of hours a week to play, right, should be matching up with him. Even in regular pubs, that just shouldn't be happening. And you know what? I actually agree. Because, there should be a protected bracket, whether there are people that are, super duper new to gaming and just have an interest and have a very low skill level, as well as people that are handicapped. There's a protected bracket for that. And I can totally understand that. But once you get into averages, obviously anybody should match up with anybody when it comes to averages, in my opinion. But trust me, like, he cares about, and we even discussed skill-based matchmaking. And I also reminded the chat that he's talking about skill-based matchmaking, not engagement optimized matchmaking, not that bullshit. So we talked about the skill ceiling in terms of what he thinks the ratio is, the difference and stuff like that, the issues with the portals and what needs to be fixed, comparing Splitgate 1 to Splitgate 2, the competitive side of things, the casual side of things, the fact that he's obviously talked to developers and all that kind of stuff. Now, obviously, he couldn't disclose everything. He couldn't disclose anything specific for obvious reasons. But with that being said, it makes 100,000% sense that the devs, especially when you hear what he has to say, and again, you can listen to it from start to finish if you want. I'll leave a link to the VOD in the description as well, and a link to his Twitch as well, so that way you can see the VOD for yourself. You will you'll see that it makes absolute sense for the devs to go back into beta, because even before the game came out, there were things that the pro community, like him, for instance, noticed that if the devs decided to make this decision, that there would be problems, so to speak, right? So he went into some detail about that. So when you're looking at, because it's important for both the casual as well as the competitive side to exist, but at the same time, from a gameplay standpoint, it's very important that everything be very well balanced. And this guy's, Splitgate IQ is so high up there that, like, everybody that was in chat, which was like on average like 20 plus people, by the way, that stuck around and listened to what the man had to say. It's very much like it was an eye opener. Like if people thought that they knew Splitgate very well, and then, just a short 3-hour conversation, opens your eyes to just everything that is just the tip of the iceberg, is really eye-opening. And it's like, yeah, for me, I was like, yeah, no wonder we went back into beta. This is even deeper than I would have thought, because I was just looking at things from a very surface and very shallow depth, a shallow level of depth. But this guy is in the trenches. Like, he sees everything. And that's why I thought it was really cool of him to do that, to kind of appear in the chat and to basically say, hey, let's get into game chat and we can talk, because I've always, like, if anything, I mentioned that I always want, if I could interview anybody, it would be like that. But it ended up being a 3-hour conversation. I was like, okay, hopefully I'll get like 10 to 15 minutes with this guy. But no, he was completely generous. He was, he gave very specific answers. He knows his stuff very, very well. And all the other pros know too. Like, all the other competitive players, they know their stuff too. They know the issues, and they know this and they know that. So this game, is in a very unique spot in terms of the potential it has and the gameplay that it offers. But at the same time, it just needs to be done so right, because the game itself has so much potential. There are so many things that need to be corrected, course corrected, and made proper to where, it's going to be very tough. But at the same time, the devs have put themselves in a position to where they can, maximize their potential to do that by completely going back into beta, by doing surveys, by testing things out, having a whole bunch of play tests and stuff like that, and applying the things that have been told to them by some of these guys like him. Because obviously from a developer standpoint, you have a very interesting decision to make. It's like you don't have, the entire world giving you answers. You've got a sample size of professional players, and then you've got the community itself, and both sides of that coin are very important. And that's when things can get very, very interesting, because here's the thing. There's a third player that we haven't even mentioned, because we talked about the pro player side. We talked about the casual side. Well, there's also the developer side, right? There's also the developers, and in terms of what they think, what their vision is, and what could possibly work. But things, as we know, that are on paper don't always mean that upon execution that it would be the best course for the game, right? So right now, if you think about it, Splitgate 2 is on a deep course collection, and that's what it is, course correction. And that's exactly what the game is going through right now. And for one, I am optimistic, just like I said in previous videos, there's no guarantee. But one thing about the Splitgate community that I absolutely love is the fact that they're a passionate group of people. You know what I mean? Whether you're talking about the developers, the players that still play this game like myself, or the content creators, the very few people that still cover the game, as well as, the professional side and the devs themselves. Because if there's anything that I know for sure now, more than before, is that there are two sources, obviously ZaxMax being one of them, and another source being a dev, or should I say two devs, maybe, possibly. One for sure. I don't remember about the second one, but like, they've stated like that there's passion on the development team as well as the CEOs. Like, they're saying that Ian has an immense amount of passion for the game, so which I could totally relate with. And that's what's keeping me playing this game. It's not the fact that it's content creation. I mean, guys, let's just be real here. If you're talking about content creation, views have dropped immensely from what they were a month ago, and as sure as hell what they were 2 months ago, right? But the passion for the game is still there. The fun factor of playing and streaming the game is still there. The people that have watched my stream from the start are still watching me to this day. There's even a few people that are coming in as well that are brand new. it's a small, passionate community, and that's what drives me. Because if this game does manage to pull what's that game called that made a comeback? I don't know, No Man's Sky, I think it is. You know, if the game manages to pull that, then I think we could be in a really good spot. And the game deserves it, because from a gameplay standpoint, it's good. From a developer standpoint, it's good. It just needs to execute, like, it needs to hit a bullseye. And that's where the challenge comes in. But that's why the devs have done what they've done and reverted this game back to beta, because they want to increase their chances of getting that bullseye, applying everything that has already been mentioned, making the changes that need to be made, and continuing to hear the community loud and clear, and applying that and testing that, which is exactly what these next 6 months or so are going to be about. So, so I, for one, am optimistic. But with that being said, I just wanted to let you guys know that over the course of the next handful or so videos, you guys are going to be getting, premium information from one of the best players to play this game, as well as someone who's put in over 5,000 hours in the original Splitgate, who's been a part of that community for a long time and knows the differences, has answers in terms of what needs to be changed. Now, granted, he doesn't have all the answers. None of us do. But with that being said, he, as well as the rest of his community of the top 1% of players, are a big driving force in terms of helping steer the game in the right direction, just like we are, as a casual community, whether you're content creators or whether you're people that just enjoy the game, we are the other part of that driving force that's going to help steer this game in the right direction. And at the end of the day, that's all we want, and that's all we're hoping for. So with that being said, this was kind of an update video, but at the same time, I also wanted to keep you guys on the loop in terms of what's been happening, because most of you guys don't make it on stream, which is very, very understandable. But from one stream to the next, you really don't know what could happen. And I'm glad this did. And again, I want to thank Zach one more time, because again, with his timing, he was very generous. My chat absolutely loved it. They got some of their questions answered. I got some of my questions answered. Like, if I asked one question, I got a very in-depth answer, and a lengthy one a lot of times as well. And in some cases, a demonstration as well. So, and as per his request, I absolutely am using portals. I'm going to download the latest VOD, because I wasn't recording like a noob, like a content creation noob, even though I've been doing this for over 10 years. I am going to download the VOD of my recent stream, so that way you guys can see how much more I'm already using portals because of this person's request, as well as his inspiration from the time that I played him. So my paddles will be arriving for the PlayStation 4 controller sometime later on today. So I'm looking forward to the changes, so I can be even more effective and more efficient with my portals. So, but with that being said, guys, I want to know in the comment section down below on your thoughts in terms of this particular topic. And as always, I want to thank everybody for taking the time to watch and or listen. Make sure you guys subscribe to Zach's channel. Make sure you guys follow him over on Twitch or whatnot. And thank you all for taking the time to watch and or listen. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.